Okay, racing is not a very big sport in the Philippines, but you know we have one guy who could actually be the next Manny Pacquiao of racing. Marlon Stockinger. Welcome to FTW.
Welcome.
So we want to know where you are at now in your training. How far have you gone?
Well, if you put, let's say, for instance, Formula 1 is at the top, and basically where I am, it's 2 levels away from where F1 is.
Wow.
So if like you had football, it would be like Division 2 or the first league before the Premier League, for example.
Right.
So we're very close, basically. And if you put it in terms of years, if everything goes perfectly for me, it could be within the next like 2 or 3 years.
That's short.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not so far from now. Yeah. Okay, and they're saying that racers need that push, and you guys need that will to be able to get to Formula 1. You started from race cards, right? And now you're up there. What did it take to get you up there?
Well, I guess in the end, talaga, it has to be results.
Okay.
You need to be good at what you do. Otherwise, if I didn't win anything, I would have turned my back on the sport a long time ago. Because first off, it's expensive, and it's a money-burning machine, basically. Unfortunately for motorsport, because it's a business at the end of the day. But luckily in go-karts, I was, Philippine champion numerous times. I was like Dado Asian champion as well. And I was 8th in the world in go-karts. Also at one point, I entered the world championship, so I was ranked 8th in the world. And then basically, from there, we were like, okay, this is pretty good. Like, I've achieved
somewhere.
Yeah, like it started off as a hobby, I think, like with most kids. It's something fun to do with your dad. Parang like it's quality time, on a Sunday, me and him lang. And then I just started really winning everything. And then we were like, okay, let's take the next step. And I guess the real reason why I went into Formula cars is because BMW has a scholarship that they offer to young drivers.
Wow, that's what we want to know.
And basically you have like a qualification week where they test you physically, your driving, your mental capability, how you work with the media. And it was over a course of a couple days, and they only chose 5 junior drivers in the whole world, at least 3 from Europe, and I think it was 2 or 3 also from Asia. And I was the only Southeast Asian and Filipino driver to get chosen into the program. So they sponsored me 60,000 euros, I think, or dollars towards my racing career to get it all started with. So I was officially, when I started my Formula racing career, I was a Formula BMW junior. So
see, that's when the support really needs to get there. You wouldn't get that much money if they didn't support you that much. So like,
so what did you spend it on? And then after that, is that when you moved to Europe?
Yeah. So that's I started my Formula career here in Asia in the Asian series, but I only did 1 year here because we knew if we wanted to accelerate my career and get talaga to the top, it was important that I went to Europe because that's where the competition is. That's where the talent is homegrown there, and like everyone is very good. They're all motivated. So if you want to be the top level, you have to race with the top level. So
how did you break into the GP3? Because a lot of people are saying that it doesn't matter if you have talent, if you're winning. It takes a certain stroke of luck also to get into it.
Yeah, I guess my first year again in Europe was really hard. Like I almost wanted to walk away from the sport because I really struggled. I left home when I was 16 or 17, and I was living by myself. I was racing with a British team. I had to move there, and I was away so many thousands of miles away from the Philippines. So as a young teenager, it was a culture shock almost.
I guess that's one of the hard parts about being a Filipino driver, because since everything is in Europe, all the chances are in Europe.
Yeah.
It's very hard because it's very far away. It's like 10,000 miles away from here.
Yeah.
So how was that for you? I mean, you're far from your parents, you're far from school. Did you stop school?
No, I mean, when I went there, the first thing was like, okay, can we do the racing with my education? So I actually moved to Cambridge, and I went to a college there. And I did it with the racing. But parang it became mahirap kasi I was like falling in between 2 stools. So neither of them were really excelling. Because of the school, I was always away, so I always had to catch up. And with the racing, like I was thinking of like when my homework's due, or after this class, I couldn't like stay longer than I could, like to help the have the team talk to me or help benefit each other. So I told my parents, like, eto lang yung chance natin, like, this is the only time we can do it. You can't do it when you're older, because by
once
then,
in a lifetime.
yeah, exactly. And we've gone this far, so as much as I want to carry on my education, let's try and focus on this now, do it well, and if it doesn't work out, I can always go back.
How was your rookie year in the GP3?
It was difficult. There was a lot of ups and downs, honestly. I had a lot of bad luck. This year, I had a couple accidents, not really my fault. I had a lot of technical failures, so almost half the time I didn't even finish the race because I couldn't even start the race because technically the car didn't work for whatever reason.
Right.
There's been highlights, so in Barcelona, on a grid of 30, best of the best in the world, I qualified third. But unfortunately, again, for an infringement, I got a penalty because the car was deemed illegal for whatever reason.
Okay.
But it was only for a very minor infraction.
Yeah.
But that meant that I had to go to the back of the grid. So I lost my starting grid of third.
Wow, there are a lot of things to be considered, no?
So yeah, there's a lot of rules. I mean, that's part of the sport talaga. And yeah, like, I've had numerous, like, top 10 finishes, and, like, towards the end of the season, I found a sort of groove, so I was always in the top 10. And I'd say now, when the season was finished, we're doing testing, so it's starting the transition stage, preparing for next year. And yeah, it's going well. And my last test in Barcelona, we call it test because that's our version of practice.
Right.
And you say test because you test a lot of things the team wants you to do. Not only just, it's not only driving around in circles, really. You have a purpose. And we were in the top 5 in that. So I've definitely progressed compared to last year.
And you were telling me a while ago that you are choosing, like right now,
Yeah.
you are choosing between 2 teams
Yes.
that might eventually get you?
Yeah. Again, testing also because I can test, the teams, they can test me. And I have an opportunity in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to Valencia, to Spain. And I'm testing with a team called Status. They're like a top 3 running team in the championship. And actually the championship winning team, which is ART. They've won the championship. The championship's only 2 years old, but they've already won it 2 years in a row. So I get the chance that they pick me and that we've come to an agreement that I can drive for them in the test. And from that, I can base whether I want to race with Status or ART. Which
I
is
have a
pretty
question. Because it's a really dangerous sport, like we've established kanina. And I read na parang before in Barcelona, you had an accident where all 4 wheels fell out. So why in the world would you want to stay in a sport where, you risk your life every single time?
Well, I don't know. I guess if I would be thinking about those things, I wouldn't be in the sport that I'm in right now. It's something that you have to... Honestly, I think every racing driver thinks about it. Like, there are bad accidents. People have died. But in the world of Formula 1, in the platform we're in, the governing body ensures that safety is number 1.
Right.
So they do everything possible to ensure that every driver finishes the race safely. And okay, there are extremes, but there's extremes in everything. People do horseback riding, equestrian. How many people, break their backs, get paralyzed, or rugby, football, there's also like really bad injuries. If you think about it, it's in anything you do, I'd rather live my life fully and make the most out of it than stay at home and become a vegetable, no? So
Okay, speaking of safety and training and all that, what do you actually do physically to get tough? Because basketball has its own training, they carry weights and do all these things. For racers, what do you guys do to get,
Yeah.
well, the best form of practice to get your body in shape is driving in the car. But unfortunately, because it's very expensive, that's quite limited. So it's even more important that drivers work on their fitness outside of the racing or being at the racetrack. So it's like doing 3 hours of cardio every day almost. You have to... I use the bike because it involves low
Mika
impact.
bikes too.
I'm a biker. Anyway.
It involves low impact training, so it doesn't put strain on your muscles, your
Right.
bones, or anything. Because if I ran 3 hours every day, I don't think I'd have knees. So
And it's also not very good for the back. Right?
exactly. So it's really just low impact training and continuous, so you can really build up your cardiovascular. Endurance, and obviously weight training. A lot of people, they stereotype kasi parang like it's so easy, it's like driving your normal road car, but it's not. I mean, the steering wheel and like because of the downforce, it gets very heavy. So it's like almost turning like 5 to 8 kilos left and right with the steering wheel.
Yeah,
So you can imagine the strain.
And your neck.
The neck as well. Like a lot of people don't know this, but we actually train our necks. We have special
How do you
machines.
do that?
Can you show us?
Can you show?
I mean, it's just as simple as like, you know, lying on the side of your bed and then having your neck exposed and just holding it for as long as you can.
Okay.
And there's a way of making it harder, so when you have your mouth closed, your jaw helps you, you know, keep your neck straight. So if you want to make it harder, you actually open your mouth, because that relaxes the muscles and it only focuses on the side of your neck.
Okay,
Wow.
Mika, now we know what to
Racing
do.
101. Yeah.
And there's others where like we have special machines. So I have I'm very fortunate that for next year I'm actually with the junior program, which is run by Formula One team, which is Lotus Renault. And basically I get to go to the F1 factory and I get to train with them. And they have special machines for your neck actually. So there's one made by Techno Gym.
That's just
How
your neck.
expensive is that machine?
I think it's like 12,000, 15,000 euros.
Oh
something like
my
this. It's
gosh.
very expensive. And basically it's just like a rotating machine and you can train your muscle in all different angles. So.
Okay,
Oh
so
my goodness.
before we end this conversation, we would want to know what's next for you. When are you racing
race.
next? When are you gonna be part of the team that you were talking about? What's next for Marlon Stockinger?
Well, I guess like for me at this point, it's really important just to take it a day at a time. You know, not look too far ahead and you know not dwell in the past. So at this point, it's really just making the most of every opportunity I get to be in a racing car. At syempre naman, it's mahirap kasi the budgets for racing, like it's getting tougher and tougher. The higher up you go, the more expensive it gets. So it's really like about finding the sponsors to back the racing.
Finding the sponsors to back the racing? Okay.
So-
Knock knock sponsors.
Knock knock sponsors.
If there's anyone, you know, like who wants to be part of something that could really be big, and I believe that next year is really my year. I have all the right people that we're talking to. We have the right program that we're going to be part of. You know, it's really a good chance to be part of something that has the potential really to be big, and I'm very positive and very sure about that.
And who knows, one day we might actually be watching the Manny Pacquiao of racing.
Yes, exactly. So why don't you just invite everybody here to support you?
Yes, I mean everyone. The races are shown on Star Sports. I'm not sure about the timetable, so like the hours are a bit odd sometimes. But if you guys want to know more about the racing, I try my best to update everyone on Twitter. So I have a Twitter account. I have a
Follow
Facebook
you at
I am Stockinger. So letter I, letter M, and my last name Stockinger on Twitter, and Facebook as well. I think we have like 50,000 followers now, which is pretty
Wow.
cool. So thanks to all the fans who've been supporting me. But there's like behind the scenes look at what we do, not just on the racetrack. You know what actually happens, the traveling, the stuff I do with media, the stuff I do with the team outside of the racetrack. So you guys can follow me there, and yeah.
I think the girls are gonna like that
yes,
very much.
very much.